Okay, first up we have UT mentorship, and we're also recording. Okay. So UT mentorship program, I don't think we have anyone here to speak to it, but we have the fall semester already going. This is the UT Theory Design class. We have people from our mentorship who act as mentors to students where they work on real world projects throughout the year. We do this each semester, so if you have any interest in joining, please sign up for next semester. That'll roll around in December and January timeframe. There we go.
To talk about some of the upcoming things for the Younger Member Forum. First of all, if you are interested in joining, we have a few positions open. So please come talk to me or Clint back there. Our first event is going to be October 5th. We are doing pumpkin nights. Registration is open now. And to keep up to date with all of our events, please follow us on Instagram and Facebook. Thank you.
Representative for EWC to say either, but they do have some upcoming events, including their general meeting next month on the 10th. They also are doing a Shoal Creek cleanup. YMF also does a Shoal Creek cleanup, so we have a lot of opportunities to get involved in our community this upcoming fall. And then first annual year of review and a Halloween social cleanup. You can check out their website at ewbgreateraustin.org. We also have links throughout the slideshow where you can take a nice little picture of the QR code and link up to some of our other events. Do y'all want to come and give some updates?
I was going to give an announcement.
Yes, please go ahead.
So everybody, Austin Mesterly, Texas Section Director, but also what my announcement is about the infrastructure report card. So I'm sure a lot of y'all are familiar with that, but it's a grading rubric on depending the state of our infrastructure. So this Texas section kicks theirs off every 4 years to align with the meeting of the state legislature. And we are kicking that effort off in a few weeks for our original kickoff meetings. And we're always looking for volunteers. So if you're interested in getting involved, because you know what the infrastructure report card, please let me know. We have all those subcommittees available. If you're interested, if you're not familiar with it, even better, come get involved. It's one of the best advocacy tools that we have as ASCE on the national level and the state level. So it's not, the more people we have, the less the effort is from everybody, the collective effort. So if you're interested, please let me know.
Real quick, two quick things. If you didn't pre-register for today, it's gotten a lot calmer back there. If you could find the time to go back and pay for today's meeting. Number two, there is dessert up here. I mean to say that every time, but don't forget, it's hiding up here a little bit. Y'all come eat dessert. Travis?
Hey. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Travis Isaacson from the Rios Group, and as a past president of the Austin branch, I'm really excited just to see how many people we have in attendance today. It looks like a great luncheon, and saw a lot of friendly faces, a lot of new faces as well. So that's exciting. So it's an honor for the Rios Group to sponsor this luncheon. The Rios Group is a Texas-based firm who specializes in subsurface utility engineering, utility coordination. We have 5 offices statewide, and we are a hub DBE firm. We're also certified with the city of Austin as an MBE and a WBE. So we do a lot of work providing subsurface utility engineering and UC on rotation list contracts like water pipeline rotation list and the civil rotation list. Also do a lot of TxDOT work here for the Austin district. So at this point, Rios Group's been growing a lot. We're up to little over 90 employees with all of our own field crews and equipment to provide subsurface utility engineering. Have our own vac trucks for digging test holes when you have those utility conflicts and utility problems that you want to solve. We've also recently promoted one of our guys to be the new branch manager of our Round Rock office. I want to introduce Robbie Hub to you guys. Robbie, stand up and wave. So congratulations to Robbie, and thanks again for letting us sponsor the luncheon. Look forward to the speaker.
Hey, next up, I would like to introduce our luncheon speaker, Marisa Flores Gonzalez. Marisa leads the Water Resources Group at Austin Water, and she also serves as the project manager for Austin Water, which has been a long time coming in Austin, but we're really excited to hear what they have in store.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me here. It's a real honor to be able to speak to y'all today. I'm an engineer, but I do get to work with a lot of engineers very closely, and I have a special fondness and appreciation and respect for the work that you do, as well as your commitment to public service. As a public servant myself, I prioritize that mission and its purpose, and I can see already the election of reform in the statements that have been made so far that you also share that. Okay, great. So I'm here to talk about water board, and that's the City of Austin's 1 per year integrated water resource plan. I'm going to tell you a little bit about the plan, tell you a little bit about our implementation of the plan, and then the work that we're doing currently to update the plan. Just for a little bit of background, this was developed coming out of the last severe drought we experienced here from 2008 to 2016. That drought became the new drought record within our region, eclipsing the 1950s drought. We took a lot of lessons from that drought. We are also taking a lot of lessons from the current. Talk a little bit more about this. Okay, so just to give a little bit of background on Austin Water is from wastewater and drinking water utility. We have a service area of over 540 square miles. We serve over 1.1 million customers with retail water and wastewater service. We are a growing utility. We experience significant growth over the past 7 decades. Even with that growth, though, we have experienced significant declines in our purchase. This factor shows how those declines have occurred from the late 1990s to present day. We attribute a lot of that to, of course, plumbing fixture efficiency, but also to the efforts of our community to reduce water usage, especially for outdoor irrigation. Coming out of the last drought that we experienced, and that had a significant impact on reduced irrigation. We can see it coming out of COVID. We had more people working water usage in our city. We've seen a little bit of a return back to pre-COVID water usage patterns, but not fully. These how demands will impact our ability to meet customers' needs over the next 100 years. Austin gets our water supplies from state granted water rights, granted to us from TCQ. The city of Austin has very old water rights that allow us to access Red River water from the Colorado River. We also have a contract with Lower Colorado River Authority that water from the Highland Lakes, Lake Travis and Buchanan, to back up our regular rights. So to meet our customer demands, first we pull water. Then if we're not able to meet all of our customer demands from right river, then we get water from the lakes to make up that demand. We our municipal supply of up to 325,000 acre feet per year. That's the amount. Both those right river rights, as well as a contract with the survey. This is our local content. So one could ask, why do a 100-year plan since you're below the amount of water that you have to rise those contacts? We know from the climate scientists that climate change are going to continue to impact our surface water availability. And so we want to be able to plan for that proactively, our water supply projects in our own time, as well as the implementation of projects or strategies that require many different developments, many different customers to update those strategies. So we're trying to do our best work to plan ahead for the uncertain future that we know lies ahead. To gauge a little bit of that uncertainty, we are experiencing the drought at this time. We in 2022 and 2023 have seen historically low inflows into anomalies. This graph shows in light blue average inflows on a monthly basis, January through December, from 1942 when the lakes were first built to the present. The dark blue shows the average from 2008 to 2013. 2022 is shown in green, a historically low inflow year. And then the purple shows inflows from January through August 2023. We get a little bump in May in terms of inflows, but we're still seeing historically low inflows through this past 4 months. And we're currently about 800,000 acre feet of combined storage to about 8 feet full. So we are in a period of drought. This kind of shows projections from elsewhere. We are in a period of drought. This is a severe drought, and we're planning for that. So we don't just do a 100-year plan, we're also planning for emergency water supply issues over either drought continuous to implement restrictions on water, irrigation, etc., or other emergency water supply strategies that we might use if drought is continued. This chart shows combined storage projections from Travis and Buchanan. September 22 to September 2023 is shown in the dark blue, and then projections for future confined storage are shown within the dotted lines. I can probably ask Ron to speak to this later, but I'm not here along the lines. We are hopeful that this El Nino, which is strong El Nino, will bring us some relief during the winter months. We don't typically see the El Nino signal within Texas. So, we have seen hotter than normal temperatures. We have seen dry conditions. Dry is expected. As hot as we got, not so much expected. We are hopeful that we're getting some rain here in October, November, December. We're also hopeful that that doesn't happen. Our region. That said, we are still planning for potential here within the past several years, and so to make sure we're able to meet the community's needs for safe, reliable, water sources through this period. We're working closely with the partners within the region to do that. Background on water forward. came out of the ground, that we experienced, we citizen task force for to develop this plan. This plan, incorporated a lot of community input, a lot of community. We had over 100 different events, over that 3.5 year period to talk to folks about the plan, get input on what are the recommendations. Ultimately, the plan was approved by council in November 2018. We received amendments. And since that time, we have been working to implement the strategies in the plan. We also set a goal when we adopted the plan to update the plan on a 5-year cycle as part of our adaptive management strategy. And we in the middle of the plan update. Driven, like I mentioned, by drought, population growth, strong population growth, which we anticipate, well as potential impacts from climate change. At this time, missions out of Texas Tech University now, but nationally, internationally, are now climate scientists to help us to develop that we then translated into straightforward projections to understand impacts on our surface water availability. We were looking at a number of different climate scenarios of hydrology, and that informed a scenario planning approach that we took with the first iteration of our so we 4 scenarios that we were evaluating as the two, a little bit more than that. We did this work supported by a number of consultants, engineering, climate scientists, technology consultants. And within this process, we first projected the demands, developed 100-year projections of future water demands throughout the city. Those 100-year projections were spatially disaggregated into 230 polygons that cover those projections were also broken down with commercial, multifamily, single family, subsector commercial sectors, including industrial, restaurants, hospitals, etc. We even then broke it down to the end to try to estimate how much water will be used. Within each of the sectors, subsectors, and how much water will be used indoor and within. We got to that level of detail because a big part of our approach was to develop fit for purpose so that we were matching the appropriate water quality with the appropriate end use and not using pullovers and uses that with not. To come up with our portfolio strategies, we evaluated a number of different conservation reuse and supply strategies. We developed costs and field them and details about the implementation challenges that we might face with those strategies. We combined those into several different portfolios, automated those portfolios using costs, fields, supply reliability, impacts, and then the top scoring portfolio made up our recommendations within the plan. The strategies are included in the plan. They include the following: advanced metering infrastructure. We're currently in the process of replacing all of 250,000 throughout the city. Park meters, provide more real-time information to customers about water use. Enhancing water loss control, customer benchmarking, transforming to regional landscape, regionally appropriate landscapes, and then trying to look at strategies that strive both the conservation management and supply side. So that's all the centralized reclaim. On the supply. 6,000 feet per year from the storage recovery project, a new off-channel reservoir by 2070, Bringing on additional company record strategies. Expanding our centralized reclaimed water system so we get supply from that strategy in 2018. Indirect potable reuse as a deep drop strategy should combine storage total of 400,000 acre feet. That is below emergency levels, so 600,000 acre feet. And then an additional strategy using the infrastructure, the intimate composting.
It's kind of behind here. They can't hear you.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Sorry.
That's okay.
They're like the computers.
Okay. Okay, so we found our additional strategies shows a pretty static projection of potable water demands that will be met by potable supplies. The purple would be water demands being met by reuse, either through on-site or decentralized reclaim. And then the gray dotted or area pictured area is the amount of conservation. So we get out, the takeaway is that if you get out to 2120, you get that blue line down, blue bar down below 300. Then our supply strategies come in that are emphasizing storage, as well as bringing on additional supplies. So the time period out into the future, when we're not able to access our full 5 and 6 water supplies, we're able to pull water out from, for example, for storage and recovery. Taking that water from our Colorado River and Hollow Lake supplies and available, treated that to drinking water standards, conveyed that to a well field, injected it underground where it's safe from evaporation, and then we pull that up here to teach the potable water. So we made a lot of progress. So in implementing the plan, we began the AMI project. We developed the on-site water reuse regulatory framework, the second in the country, to try to streamline permitting and regulation of on-site water reuse systems within the cities. And so the first one of these types of frameworks in the country, we learned a lot from them. We began our under storage and recovery project. Our first steps would be bringing on the consultant to help us identify a pilot location. We're currently wrapping up that is council approval requirements that require that all new site plans develop water benchmarking applications. So along with your site plan, some of y'all may be familiar with this, along with your site plan, you have within your development for a variety of different end uses. It also estimates how much water can be produced on site. For developments that are larger, above 250,000 square feet, our staff also meet with those developments individually to identify different opportunities for on-site reuse, conservation, and to share information about our incentive programs. And in 2021, we also developed traditional incentives related to reclaimed water. The Region Community Water Plan, we're very active on the Regional Water Planning Group. Updating that plan as well. In 2022, we completed our preliminary ASCE storage zone screening. We began our water board update process. And then, and since that time in 2023 here, we've been working through our update process, and we've to the point in our ASR project where we're hoping by the end of this calendar year to have locations for one or several pilot projects identified. On the ASR front, we have done work to evaluate locations in many different counties surrounding Travis County. We started with an 8-county study area. We narrowed that down to a 3 study area in Travis. shop in Lee County. And we're currently finalizing both the technical evaluation as well as the equity and affordability evaluation that are going to inform our selection of pilot locations. Once we select a pilot location, we'll go into field testing, preliminary engineering for a pilot project, and then piloting. Piloting will probably take us through 2028. We'll develop recommendations for a full-scale ASR project, begin preliminary engineering, design, and construction for that project, and then we hope to have that completed by 2035. After that, injection as well as withdrawal from that ASR project, several different cycles, so that we're both conditioning the aquifer and we are building up to our target of having 60,000 acre-feet of water stored within the aquifer by 2040. So a big project, and even though it seem like far out dates, we're moving along at a pretty fast clip. That's a pretty quick turnaround time to do that type of ambitious project. This shows a visual of get out of that. I think slide that shows more on that topic, but I'll just mention that we also have implemented a reuse, a mandatory on-site water reuse requirement. So beginning December 1st, 2023, developments that are greater than 250,000 square feet will have to install on-site water reuse systems. This is for new commercial and multifamily developments. If the development is connected or will connect to a centralized reclaimed water, have to install an on-site system if they are not either close enough to get to that centralized system or are would rather not connect to that centralized system, then they would be required to install an on-site reuse system that would reuse that would collect rainwater and reuse AC condensate at a minimum. Our staff are currently working on developing, finalizing technical criteria as well as land development code changes that'll be necessary to clarify and put those into place before the effective date of December 1st, 2023. So our work, I work in the planning realm. We do a lot of work to update these plans. We are including new aspects into this planning process within our first update cycle. Incorporating new hydrologic data, we'll be updating our strategy implementation progress so far to account for that within the plan process. We're including a new scenario evaluation methodology. We're also continuing appointed task force who meets on a bi-monthly basis. All of their meetings are publicly recorded if anybody has interest in following along with that. Some of the key changes to our water forum plan, having a better description and connection between water forward, other related City of Austin planning efforts, with those for resilience planning, sustainability, environmental goals, or other types of planning efforts. We're also trying to better align with the regional water planning process and some of the considerations that are important in that process. We have a very different methodology between the regional water planning process and our Boston planning process, but we're trying to thread needles so that we have valuable content and input that can go into both processes. On the equity front, we have developed an equity and affordability roadmap to help us evaluate the distribution of benefits and burdens of planned strategies, especially as relates to marginalized communities. So we want to understand, how does implementation either benefit or provide inequitable burdens, especially for communities of color and low-income communities. And if it does place inequitable burdens, what strategies can we put in place to try to mitigate that inequity. It's something that we're trying to do from the outset, to do this planning with consideration of those who could be most negatively impacted, while providing the greatest benefit for our entire community. We're developing an equity and affordability tool to go along with that, that demographic data like race, ethnicity, income, access to health insurance, cultural centers, and other data, so that we can evaluate our different strategies using disaggregated data that can help us kind of do this in a more intentional way. Our methodology, we had a really convoluted approach to identifying water needs. Last time I'd explain it to you right now, but that was a really long time. So we are trying to clarify that approach this time around, and we are also developing a more robust approach to addressing risk and uncertainty within this plan. Within this plan, we are now, rather than trying to predict or identify what outcome we think is most probable, we're trying to plan for a range of different plausible futures. We're planning 100 years out to the future. 100 years out to the future, I can definitely tell you that all of our demand projections are wrong. The scenario that we have within there. Last time around, we had one projection of demands. This time around, we're incorporating 3 projections of demand to try to capture a certain range of uncertainty. We have a low, a mid, and a high. Similarly, we last time around we used 4 different hydrologic scenarios. This time around we're using 71 different hydrologic scenarios. We're using 3 different scenarios of regional supply, development of supplies that could be available within the basin that would not be developed by the city of Austin, but could help meet needs throughout the basin as a whole, and could also provide a benefit for the city of Austin. When you combine all of these different scenarios, it comes up with a big number. I think in some of those slides. But our overall approach in just describing that is to try to find strategies that perform well over a broad range of futures. You know, we want to, there's lesser uncertainty in the near term. So we want to identify what are these no regrets strategies that align with our community's values, that are affordable, that are a good bang for the buck in terms of yield, and that we can implement in a pretty competent way. Further out into the future, we'll be using an adaptive management approach. And so we'll be selecting a number of different strategies that could be at the hanging off of our decision tree that we could turn to as we monitor conditions and see how conditions are changing and how we may find things for them. So this is pretty much something but pretty much we've got range of demand, possible climate futures, droughts, regional supply needs that we're all putting into the hopper, and trying to identify both decision points for adapting within our implementation of strategies. What are these signposts and thresholds that we're going to use, whether those are related to demand, hydrology, supply development, etc., that are going to cause us to follow different pathways in implementation of our strategy. We're also continuing to update this on a 5-year basis so that we can incorporate things that we. The cone on the right, you probably see that all the time, but called the cone. Our planning scenarios overall, I mentioned 71 different hydrologic scenarios, like the period record, what we see in the historical observed hydrology, 10 drought sources in the drought of record, 30 hydrologic sequences that are adjusted to incorporate the effects of climate change, potential effects of climate change, 3 different, again, disaggregated all the way down to the end use level and spatially disaggregated within 3 different regional supply scenarios. And we're that comes. So we're not doing all of that by hand. We're developing a model, kind of an optimization model that's going to help us to evaluate all of these different strategies, and we'll be working with the consultant. Our climate analysis, we've been working with folks at UT to update our projections of temperature and precipitation, as well as evaporation that we incorporate into our models to develop future stream flow. We've also been working with them to kind of summarize at a high level climate trends throughout the basin. And then we have a consulting hydrologist, Dr. Richard Hoffpower, who we've been working to generate our climate index. Of course, it's probably not news to anybody within this room, but overall climate anticipate that annual mean temperatures will increase. Projected to increase the number of hot days with temperatures above 100 degrees Fahrenheit, projected to increase. Days, the number of dry days at below 0.01 inches are also projected to increase. Rainfall is kind of the most uncertain of the variables that we look at, in that we see a lot of we see changes in the distribution of rainfall over the longer term. Less frequent and more rainfall events are projected in kind of the middle years of 2070 and 2080. There are some very high rainfall events that we see coming out of this. And then we see a turn towards overall just drier trends. So, you know, these projections are uncertain. These models are global climate models. We're downscaling the models to be appropriate at the scale that we're using them. But again, we're just using many different scenarios that we translate into our stream flow projections to try to achieve that uncertainty. But the climate models that we use, we evaluated a number of different GCMs to try to identify which GCM would produce results appropriate for our region. We look at how the GCMs replicate historical hydrology, and then we choose top performing GCMs. You can also kind of, there's a little bit of judgment that comes into this too, because the GCMs that we selected, you know, we have to both choose those that are historical, representing the historical hydrology, but some of them are wetter, some of them are drier, so we include a range as well. We developed, or I didn't develop, Richard models for each gauge, a model for each gauge within our basin to, again, replicate historical hydrology using these indicators of temperature and precipitation to produce stream flow. And so these precip and temp projections switch those hydrologic models, and all of that data then the output stream flow projections go into our water availability model that we use to identify how much water will be available to the city of Austin and how that impacts our water management strategies. So our next steps, we're currently in the process of projections to identify needs. What's the range of future needs or shortages with the basin? And then that'll help us to set some bounds for identifying, screening, and characterizing additional water management strategies. Then combining those into different groupings to model will also be evaluating your water reuse portfolio, water resource portfolios against, again, an MCDA type of environmental, social, supply reliability framework. And then we'll be developing our plan recommendations and our 100-year adaptive management plan by the end of the calendar year. We have a website online if anybody has any information. It has a super intuitive link. Speak up that word. That's a 23847. It used to be better. And we're still working on that. You can also just Google water board and it might take you to our Austin Water website. From there, you can also get to our Speak Up Austin page. Just an overview and summary of our water board plan is really important work. And many of y'all will be involved in implementing key strategies that are a part of this plan. So happy to answer any.
Thank you so much for the presentation. It's really cool. And then I'm going to consider the land developing effects on the water as well. The rainfall, everything. So you consider the rain, the land developing because we are losing a lot of water by changing the grass. So
Yeah, that is an important consideration. So each of these GCMs have like a land surface model that's incorporated into them. And it does each of the GCMs and then the SSPs that you're running, the different scenarios, some have some assumptions baked into them about growth and how that might change. However, I will say that those are at a very high level and at a rough scale. Considerations about kind of more discreetly how land development might impact, for example, impervious cover and how that might impact runoff and changes to runoff. I think those are things that we could definitely look into more. I know that our folks at Watershed Protection are the city department that looks at urban water quality. And for example, they do a lot of work to identify kind of what impacts could be from increases in impervious cover. And I'll also mention, I didn't talk about it here, but we're incorporating a system into our water board project currently called the Colorado River Land Analysis project, but we're looking at what kind of impacts growth and development might have within the Highland Lakes watershed. And how that might impact primarily water quality rather than water quantity. It's really hard to get at some of the water quantity considerations, but the water on the water quality side of things, you know, you definitely see degradation of water quality as you see impervious surfaces, roadways. And you had a question back there, yes, sir.
So, great presentation. So, my name is Sanjay. Based on water levels in the lakes, if I start tracking the water level, then the water level increases above the threshold. And they do internally for your department to assess that and then proceed.
Yeah, that's a great question. So I'm sorry. Yes, I can repeat the question. The question is if we're tracking water levels within the Highland Lakes, we're tracking combined storage. How long does it take for us to if we pass the threshold for when we entered into the current stage that we're in, how long does it take for us to respond to that and to either lift this current restriction or post that on the website? Is that the question? Okay. So we have a certain time period. It's about a couple of months. If we're above that combined storage threshold, I think we've set below 900. If we're back above 900,000 acre feet for a couple of months, then we would be able to lift that restriction. And we monitor that every day. We monitor combined storage levels every day, probably multiple times a day. So, you know, we're always anticipating when we'll hit a certain trigger. And then we put together press releases, communication, social media posts, memos to Mayor and Council and we make plans to either impose deeper drought restrictions or to lift those pretty much at the time where we'll hit that. Mine storage is one of the things that I look at multiple times a day. And so we're always kind of planning ahead for when we'll hit that. I don't anticipate that we'll get out of stage 2 for a good while. Definitely not through the end of the calendar year. Yes.
Great presentation. I saw you mentioned indirect versus PRs.
So in the last water board plan, DPR fell out of the screening and evaluation process. There were concerns about water quality issues, concerns about nutrient disruptor. It was not included as a final recommendation. DPR is going to be reevaluated as part of this plan. That it's in it along with indirect potable reuse. I think that is an important strategy for us to at least evaluate, consider, and to contribute to the development of that technology. There are a lot of community concerns about indirect as well as potable, direct potable reuse. We already hear those with us, even just yes. I think that's something that we're going to have to work through all together as a community. And it's going to require a lot of education, a lot of conversation, and it's going to require us to invest in pilot and test these
So it's coming down from TCQ with reuse systems, required reuse systems to do that. So definitely have a dynamic plans.
right.
Your neighbors are already looking at
Yeah, it's a very good point.
great presentation.
Sorry, so
Water availability modeling, seemed to overlap with LCRAs.
So we do a lot of work to coordinate very closely with the with LCRA, runs over there from LCRA. We coordinate very closely. We do consider different things within our water. We have kind of an Austin specific model. If we want to be able to adjust different parameters and you know, there could be, you know, there's definitely a lot of conversation. There's definitely a lot of over. We are looking at different things and running it a little bit different way, just because, you know, we have kind of different. And you know, we like to have our own hydrologist so that we can ask him lots of questions and get him to do lots of runs. So it's that's a part of it too. We have a lot of questions. Go ahead. Yeah, that's a good question too. So we got concerns about cost. With the on-site reuse, for example, we got concerns about time and how this might impact you know, the time it takes to permit a project. We responded to many of those concerns by, for example, requiring rainwater and AC condensate rather than some of the more much more expensive source waters. That we responded to those by trying to be a little bit more intentional with which developments have to install these types of systems and for what end uses. And then in terms of time, that has been a big focus of our team's work, to work closely with development services and also with other city as well as state regulatory agencies to try to streamline these processes as much as possible and give certainty within the process as well, so that people know what's required of them. People know how much time it's gonna take for them to get through this process. And, people know, you know, who they need to talk to get further assistance. So that, those have been major focuses of our group, is to be, we know it's a big change that's coming, and so we want to be able to be there for folks, be responsive, and to be able to provide the resources that people need to design, permit, construct, and operate these systems. That's why we passed the plan in 2018. We got direction from council to accelerate implementation of these strategies, and we said we need time to be able to do this in the right way, so that when we put it out there, when we make this a requirement, then it's going to happen seamlessly, and we're not going to have a lot of confusion.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. All right. Well, do we have the final numbers for today's attendance? That's fantastic. Thank you, everyone. We're gonna have Paul up for one last.
Okay, sorry, one more time. I won't take long. I just really just want to recognize a few people before the end of my tenure here. So first, we had CECon last week, and a few folks from the Austin branch received some honors. So Augustine, where are you? Stand up, say hi to everyone. Where'd you go? Augustine received the award of honor. Congratulations, Augustine. Martha Juke, who I don't think is here with us. Martha, no. Martha received a Lifetime Service Award. And David, you want to stand up, say hi to everybody? David Matoka also received a Lifetime Service Award. Very well deserved. And then last, we have a lot of folks that helped over this past year. There's going to be, more folks helping next year, but outgoing board members, committee chairs, volunteers, would you mind standing up just to show everybody in the room how many of y'all there are who help us run this organization on a month-to-month basis? So thank you all very much. And thank you all. It's been an honor serving as your president. And there you go, Tyler. It's all yours. Thanks, everyone. That's it for today.